Hello guys, my name is Destiny and welcome back to another video in the to-do list series. And in this one, we're going to go ahead and start working with creating the views to list and create to-do. That's what we're going to be doing in this video. Do make sure to drop a like, consider subscribing, as it really means the world to me. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up my code editor. And as you can see, this is it. So I'm just going to hop over to the views PY and we need to import a couple of things. The first thing that I need to import over here is the to-do serializer. So I'm going to import to-do, and from API.serializer, I'm going to import the to-do serializer. There you go. So those are the two things that I need right now. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a new view, and let's call this one to-do. We could call it to-do list view. All right. And this should inherit from generics dot. Now we're going to use list create. So follow along, list create API view. So the list create API view is pretty much going to help us list to-dos, and on the same view, we're going to be able to create to-dos. Don't worry, when you see this in action, then you'd understand what this is going to do. So the first thing that we need to pass in here is the query set. So for listing of all the to-dos, we're simply going to do to-do.object.all. So we want to grab all the to-dos in the database. And what serializer should this interact with? So I'm going to add in serializer underscore class should be equal to what? The to-do serializer. As simple as that, we are done. So all we now need to do is go ahead and register this in the URLs. So open up your URLs, and just down here, I'm just going to see some like to-do URLs. I'm going to pass in paths. And for this one, let's just start with to-do. All right. So we're going to say to-do slash, just like that. And I'm going to say views dots, and I called it to-do list view, right? And because it's a class-based view, I'm going to pass in dot as view, just like that. And we are done. So let's go ahead and run our server and see what we've got now. So I'm going to run my server. All right, I'm going to close up a couple of things over here. There you go. Okay, it's now up and running. Let's see. Okay, there you go. My server is running now. So all I just need to do is just come over here, come over to port 8000, and I'm gonna go over to slash API, then slash to do. All right. So slash API slash to do. What do you notice? This is what we have. So as you can see, just because we use the list create API view, firstly, it will go ahead and list all the to do. Secondly, it will give us a form to create a new to do. As simple as that. So these are the to dos that we have in our database now. And if for any reason you don't believe that, I'm just going to go ahead and show that to you. So I'm going to come over here, and as you can see, we're going to go ahead and log in right now, and come over to to-dos. Then you would see that we have only two to-dos over here. There you go. Now this is it. So we can as well create other to-dos from here. For example, I can say something like buy a new mouse. All right. So buy a new computer mouse or something like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and post. Now I post, and as you can see, it grabs the detail view of that new to-do. And if we come over here and refresh this, now we should have 3 to do. There you go. Buy a new mouse. So that's it. But actually, this function that we just created, or this logic that we just created, it has a couple of flaws. And what that is this. Let me explain. So we want to actually grab to-dos by a user, right, that created them. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new user real quick. So I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to come over to add users, and I'm going to add up a new user. Let me just put in their password. I'm going to put in testing 321. That's still loading up. There you go, testing 321. And also for the username, I'm just going to put Sammy. And for the email, I'm going to put something like sammy@gmail.com. As simple as that. And I'm just going to go ahead and save this. All right. So we created a new user. As you can see, they should also have a profile. There you go. So if I go ahead and try changing up the to-dos, so this to-do was created by Destiny, right? How about I want to change this to-do to become Sammy's own, and I save this. Now we have 2 to-dos from Destiny, 1 to-do from Sammy. But if we come over here, still on the to-do list, what do you notice? It still lists out all the to-do. Now, how do we grab only Destiny's to-do? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. We want to be able to do something like pass in maybe Destiny's ID is ID number 1, right? If we pass in ID number 1, then we should be able to grab Destiny's to do. Then if we pass in ID number 2, which is Sammy's ID, we should be able to grab Sammy's ID. Now, how should we do that? Now I'm gonna come over to I'm gonna come over here. You can as well get rid of this query set because we're gonna be creating our own right now. You can get rid of it or you can still leave it. It's totally up to you what you want to do. But we're gonna be overriding the default query set. So I'm gonna say define get underscore query sets just like this. And you need to pass in self. And in here, the first thing that we need to do is define a couple of things. The first one we want to grab is the user ID. I know it might be kind of confusing, but don't worry, I'm going to explain everything that's going on when I'm done. So I'm going to start with quags and I'm simply going to pass in user ID. All right. So using this ID over here, this ID is going to be whatever ID that's passed in here. So how do we actually identify a user? By just passing in a random number. In order to do that, let's grab the user. So we're going to say dot objects dot get. Now we want to get by ID should be equal to what? User ID. ID should be user ID. Now this ID over here, the first one is pretty much a field that we have in the user model over here, but you cannot see it because it's quite invisible. But if you come over to the initials, now what do you notice? This is the field over here, ID. All right. So what we simply did over there was say, hey Django, grab whatever ID that the user passed in to the URL and check if there is a user like that exists. If there's a user like that exists, then grab all the who to do that belongs to that user. So in that case, what we're gonna do is to do the objects.get, and we're just gonna say user should be equal to what? User. As simple as that. And we need to also go ahead and return to do, because a function must return something, else there's going to be an issue. So we return this to do that we created now. That's what we want to show on our site. So right now this is working perfectly well. If we go ahead and refresh this page, only the to do, then there's going to be an error. There you go. It's saying something like, hey, in the view, it said something like, okay, I'm trying to explain what this error is saying now. So this error is trying to say something like, I'm looking for a parameter called user ID in the URL, but I cannot find it. Is there a problem? And actually, yes, there is a problem. So we need to come over here, open two angle brackets and paste this in there. As simple as that. So whatever you called this over here, whatever you call this, let's say you called this banana, then make sure that in your URL, what you have here is banana, not what you called this, but what you call this. And you can also call this anything, just so you know, all right? So as we've done that, that's pretty much what we want to do. Let's just pass in Destiny's ID and hit enter. Okay, it says get return more than one to do. All right, that's my bad. So I was supposed to use filter over here, all right, because we're not getting just one to do, but we're getting multiple to dos. So I used filter. All right, so let's refresh this again. Now what do you notice? It grabs only Destiny's to do, and that's perfect. Now if we pass in ID number 2, it should grab only Sammy's to do, which is 1 to do. Hopefully you guys understand. That's pretty much it. This is now working perfectly well. We can now grab to dos using ID from the back end and also display here in the front end. As simple as that. That's working perfectly well. We can also create new to do for Sammy over here. As simple as that. And as you can see, that's pretty much what we have. So let me go ahead and run through this code again and we should be done with the video. So we defined the class to-do-list view. You could call this name whatever you want. And we inherited from generics.list create API view. So we added list create API view just because we want to be able to list to-dos on the view and also create to-do in the same view. As simple as that. So that's why we added this. There are other ones that I'll be showing you guys in the next video. And after that, since it's list create API view, there's list in this, that means it definitely needs a query set to iterate over. Now we defined the query set and added a serializer class to the serializer. So whatever field that was added in here is what's going to show up over here. All right, ID, user, title, completed data. So if for any reason we get rid of the date and we are left with the completed, and we're waiting for our server to spin up again, we get back here and refresh this. Now what do you notice? We only have ID, user, title, and completed without a date. And that's why we simply passed in the serializer class over here. We are like, hey Django, this should be the fields that you should use. Look for the fields that you should use from the to-do serializer. As simple as that. Then we were listing out all the to-dos without actually grabbing one user single to-do. Then all we did was just go ahead and override the default query set method. Now we define the user ID. This would be like a parameter that's going to be passed into here, into the URL. we call this whatever. You could call this whatever you want. I told you guys that already. And after we've done that, we simply got a user that owns that ID that was passed in there. Then we use that user to filter all the to do. All right. So we simply said, okay, Django, get all the to do. But what we want to do this time around is get the to do that belongs to the user that their ID was passed in here. As simple as that. Then we'll finally return the to do. So returning this to do is pretty much what actually made us see this to do over here. If for any reason you comment this out and wait for your code to run, then definitely there should be an error. And I'd also advise you guys to do something. Whenever you don't understand what a code is doing, you can comment it out and try refreshing your site to see what's going on. Now, what do you notice? We can't find that to do any longer. That's because we are not actually returning the to do that we just got from the to do object filter. As simple as that. Hopefully you guys understand. That's going to be it for this video. In the next one, we're going to go ahead and start working with retrieving a to do, and the upper one we're going to work with marking to do as complete. Do make sure to drop a like on this video, consider subscribing, as it really means the world to me. And until the next video, mad love, peace out.